If you are working too much, that's why you are, in fact, not able to build wealth. I know it's controversial to what you've been taught, and we will be breaking down mental constructs in this episode that hold you back from your highest potential in wealth building. Hi, I'm Jaryd Krause.
And I'm Sam Powell, and we are the hosts of the Property Pals Australia podcast. And in this episode, we're going to be discussing the infinite loop that Jaryd and I have been mentioning on the podcast, talking about how business and property can help one another grow. So if you understand how the infinite loop actually works, you can really amplify your potential.
Yeah. We also debunked why working more doesn't build wealth. Instead, it actually does the opposite and keeps you stuck.
Yeah, so we thought we'd also share some strategies to turbocharge your wealth creation through business and property whilst using finance at the same time, which is really key.
Yeah, we also discussed why it's not money that holds people back from building wealth, which is what most people perceive. It's like they need money to make money. And yes, you do, but to get that money, it's in fact a mindset issue that you can work on and resculpt to set yourself up for success. Now, before we dive into this podcast episode, obviously it's not the only way we can help you for free. We do have our How to Maximize Your Borrowing Capacity mini course. Get that on our website. There'll be a link in the description for that. For now, let's dive in. Welcome to Property Pals, the podcast where we share everything around how to build a property portfolio, from researching areas, financing, structuring, buying, selling, and reinvesting to live a life of financial independence. As a disclaimer, any information shared by myself, Jaryd, Sam, and the Property Pals team is strictly general and should not be taken as constituting professional advice. You should consider seeking independent legal, financial, and taxation advice from a qualified professional. Absolutely on point today. We're recording.
Oh, exciting.
Just saying how good Sam's haircut is. He's looking flash.
Yeah, got a fresh cut. I did a Reserve Bank of Australia announcement for every month they come out and release their cash rate, whether they've increased interest rates or not. So we're always on edge, wondering what's happening. It's just a point, basically it's a media point that I put things out there. So I'll record a video and sort of say my view on the whole situation. And then this month I looked a bit like I just got out of the surf with long hair, and I was like, oh, geez, I might clean myself up. So here we are.
Looking sharp.
Oh, well, for me, it's not what I look like. It's what it's my brain that helps people.
Exactly. And that's why we're here. We've got to chat about something similar related to property today. We were thinking about podcast ideas. And if you guys have any, send them over. We've got a lot. It's kind of like working out which ones we should chat about first, and then we put a lot on the back burner. And we've also got we've got to answer some questions as well. We still haven't done that yet, so we will get to your questions, guys. And you said you want to talk about the infinite loop of wealth.
Yes, I'm kind of very drawn towards that prospect or the idea that you threw out there and the infinite loop. And the more I was thinking about it, it is really influential on people's lives. So I just thought we're here to change lives in a way, and doing that through smart money decisions, really. But a lot of clients come to us and they've spent a lot of their life building up the business because they wanted to work for themselves, and they've done the grind. They get to that point where they're saving money, but they're not sure what to do with it because they don't need to reinvest it back into their business at that stage, and they're looking for alternative ways to store that wealth outside the business. And that's where obviously we come in and we help them on that property front. But I don't know that journey prior to them coming to us. So I thought I'd lean on you.
Yeah, let's go.
That's your sort of.
How do you want to chat about it? So I came up with the infinite loop like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I guess. But yeah, let's dive into it. I'm happy to pick it apart and sort of break it down and digest it for everyone, because it's a theory and it's sort of a philosophy and a theory, and I love people picking those things apart and testing them to see how it can or cannot work for them. So where do you want to go with it?
Yeah, well, what's the mindset of the business owner that gets to that stage where they know that they've got a business that's it's successful, it's generating income. Like, go through your mind. You went to that. You had the opportunity to either keep reinvesting into businesses, but you've chose the property route, and I just want to know why.
It's a good question. So the first sort of thing that goes through my mind is with business, and maybe I'm a little bit different than other business owners, is that I got in business to build wealth, and I kept that mindset. And I feel like some business owners don't. They get into business to make money and have more money, but they don't have the aspirations to build a lot more wealth, or they're not thinking about how do I get out of work, right? Like, a lot of people think that's the goal, is get your own business and you can work on your own terms and stuff. And most of the time it's not on your own terms, because you've got clients. If you look at people that are, tradespeople and stuff like that, they're working probably more hours than they would in a regular job, and they're dictated by when they can access the work.
Yeah, so, that's a good point. So I definitely see people, you leave that 9 to 5 or that PAYG role, and then you do have that freedom in the time. You're your own boss. You're motivated more because you're like, oh, I'm doing this. I'm self-sufficient. But what I also see is they get stuck in their own jail cell in a way, where you're just working so much more, and you're working 7 days a week, like staying up late, invoicing, getting all that stuff done. That actually takes you away from what you're trying to achieve initially, right?
Yeah. I think most business owners go through that phase, but I think a lot of people get stuck in it. Like, I'm so grateful that I had a business partner and a couple of mentors that taught me, like, you don't need to work as hard as what you are working to grow your business. In fact, it's the opposite way around. So
that is so rare. Sorry to jump in that. Like, everyone out there is just, you got to work hard to make it work. Otherwise, you won't be successful. Work hard, work long hours. It's worth it. It's only a few years of your life, and then I've seen it where it goes from a few years to a few decades, and that's depressing.
But the reality, it's so depressing, and it's so hard to get out of that mentality. Like, because that's what societal conditioning is. It's like, if you want to get ahead, you've got to put your neck on the chopping block and go for it. Like, you've got to work hard and roll up your sleeves, have a glass of cement, harden up, and just get it done. But I am very grateful that I learnt that hard work doesn't build wealth. Hard work does not build your portfolio of wealth and your net worth, because we talked about this in the last podcast. Is I can work my ass off for a 6-figure job, right? 40 hours a week. Or if I invest $80,000 into a property, into a good investment, a great vehicle, which I did with that property in Ipswich, made $95,000 in capital growth in 9 months, and all the work I had to do was hire a couple of great people like yourself, get a finance broker, and build my property team. So it's silly for us to burn ourselves out to a point that we are just trying to keep our head above water. And I did that. Like, I worked so much. I was doing 70 to 80 hour weeks. I had a big sales team, a marketing team. This is even through 2018. And I got really, really sick, and I didn't even realize how sick I was. I went to an alternate health doctor a year and a half later for something completely different that wasn't the issue that I'm going to talk about at hand here. And she's like, so you've got Epstein-Barr virus. I was like, what's that? She's like, did you get really sick like a year and a half ago? And she was an alternate health doctor, did kinesiology and all these sort of things. And I was like, yeah, I was pretty sick. Like, I was just working so much, and I had too many clients, and I was doing one-to-one work. And I didn't know, but it turned into Epstein-Barr virus class 3, class where it's through your body and your blood. Class 4 is like it's through your brain and all of your organs. and it was like a gnarly protocol of vitamins and supplements and a lot of money to like rid this Epstein-Barr virus and bring my Epstein-Barr virus load down. And that's when I had to change from working so much to a different business model that allowed me to work 20 hours a week. And it's been what I had realized through that period is that I had to work less because I was sick, and I don't know if you remember, I wasn't able to surf for like more than like half an hour the first part, and then I worked my way up to being able to surf an hour and then more, because it would just really make me really, really tired. I'm not sure if you remember that at all.
No, I don't.
Yeah, so it was through 2019 and through the start of 2020.
I was busy.
Yeah,
having babies. So
yeah, I know.
Having babies.
You were doing the work.
Oh.
So yeah, it's a really good thing. I know we haven't got to the infinite wealth yet, but it's a really good thing to understand that like the more time we give ourselves, the more we can set ourselves up for success. And when we're working too much, we're not able to set ourselves up for success, and it's a totally different mindset, and it's really hard to break out of because that's all we've been taught most of our lives. Like, if you want something, you need to work for it. And working doesn't mean hours doing something. Working can mean thinking about it for a year and then executing beautifully and doing nothing else, right? If you look at all the most successful people in the world, they don't work much. They just think about how do I allocate different portions of money to different areas and put that money to work versus us doing the work to make that money. And I find we've got to progress through different phases, and we can only get through certain phases once we've like really integrated and embodied those lessons of not working too hard. So yeah, it's a typical thing though with like most people in a business, most business owners is they want to become a business owner to have an asset, but they've learnt, say, if I went and became a plumber and built my own plumbing business, which I was going to do at one stage, I was going to become a gas plumber, and I learned how to do the plumbing, and I was working as a plumber as a job. But if I went and became a plumber, I thought I would have been owning a business and being a business owner, but I just would have been an operator. There's a big difference between an operator and an owner. An owner of a business owns the business, and they just sort of dictate what the operators do, right, and how they operate, versus most people that start their own business versus from what they have learnt throughout their career, they get into their own business and they become operators, and then because they don't know how to be a business owner, they don't know how to wear the business owner hat, they don't know how to get out of it unless they hire a mentor and realize like, oh, you're working and you've just got yourself a glorified job where they think it's time working on their own terms, but it's basically dictated by their clients.
Yes, very common.
So common. If you look at all of the people that you know in your life that progress from their career to building their own business out of it, most of them are not owners of the business. Most of them are operators and are working big hours.
Yeah, then they become the key man too.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the goodwill is in the
correct
the person themselves, so they can't remove themselves out of it.
Correct.
But yeah, it's a really good point. But come back to the infinite wealth, an infinite loop we speak about. So yeah, your mindset. Did you get to that stage where property was an interesting vehicle for wealth, but like, why did you choose it over just going and buying another business? Or
thanks for getting me back on track there, because I didn't answer that question at all, did I? So the reason I moved into property is because I needed a different investment vehicle, because I was making most of my money through, and I am making most of my money through online businesses. And I know online businesses are risky because I've almost lost like my primary online business. It went bad 1 year or over a 2-year period.
Was that when Facebook changed?
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, so Facebook changed their algorithm on how they like ad performances worked, and I was spending a lot of money per month, and I had a big sales team and a marketing team, and we just weren't getting the leads and the qualified leads anymore. And I was solely reliant on just Facebook ads working, because that's where I got our leads and our clients, and that was a paid version. And I keep paying. I had to keep paying to get it working, but they changed how the ad performance worked, and so a lot of people through this time lost their businesses because they were reliant on Facebook. I was lucky enough to like have some cash reserves and hold on and change my business model a little bit, but and I have lost other businesses that I just like tried to work on that didn't grow and stuff like that. So I've had like a lot of failures, and I just knew that I didn't want to have all my income coming from one area that is a high risk, because I do believe business is more high risk than property. It moves a lot faster. You can earn way more money a lot faster, even outside of like developments and also buying a one property and putting another dwelling on it and flipping it and stuff. You can make far more money far more quicker through business, and it's risky. So that's my biggest reasons I needed to get out of it, and that's why I started like studying more property, and I wanted to get into property and do flips and all that sort of stuff, and I just got out of that, and I'm glad I did, because that allowed me to think about this infinite loop of like how it came about. It was me also helping my clients that are business owners understand that you've got a lot of single source dependency risk on your income just online. Let's get you assets outside of that so you can build wealth. So you don't need to hire me as a business coach anymore, or we can just chat a couple of times a year and we can make sure everything's running smoothly, and they can earn wealth from other areas as well.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Business has always been like I've focused my life on investing vehicles, and it's led me down the property path from the risk perspective. But the deeper I get into it, the more I understand it. Like I'm more passionate about it, and obviously seeing the results now too with clients coming through, and obviously my own portfolio. It's amazing. But yeah, the business side of things it's a new ball game, and I've been guilty of you just constantly in your head. It feels like you're on that hamster wheel, still running, and then I mean, yeah, it is risky, but it's rewarding on the business front. But the biggest thing that I'm always running in my head is like, what's the reason for doing anything? And a lot of it is to create more time. It's just interesting how the business pathway actually takes you further away from what you're trying to achieve initially.
Yeah, it also comes back full circle as well. It's like once you have more time, I know this isn't true for a lot of people listening, because a lot of people are like, I just want to buy my first property and whatnot. But as you start to build your wealth and businesses and property portfolio, then you do start to have more time. And once you do have more time, you need to do something with it. Like you need to be fulfilled, otherwise you're going to be mentally suffering. And I know people that don't need to work, that are just like not in the best headspace. And so, yeah, I think there's like, then you can start to find purpose in your work. Like what we do here is like, we were going to do this. We did this before we even hit the record buttons. And it's great. We get to hang out every Friday.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. We're coming back to the infinite wealth. Every Friday. I don't know. Every day. One day. You never know.
Yeah, it's exactly. Surfing every day.
Yeah. Lifestyle by design. Yeah. Everyone talks about it, but it's actually crazy. A lot of people do. There's so much smoke and mirrors out there, even in like business coaching, mental health awareness space. Like people that are out there preaching it is sometimes the people that
are working the big hours.
Yeah, they're doing the opposite of what they're preaching. Yeah. But that's, you can always learn something from somebody, and that's like when you hit on this infinite loop. It's I've never put a coined term for it, but it is so important, because I just see it that whether it's you're running a business or you're an employee, you're making money, right? It just comes down to it. Well, one, de-risking your entire financial portfolio, which is the income you drive out of your assets and your personal self. You are an asset. You're your best asset, right? So
absolutely,
education is key to increasing your income in that stage. But it's like, well, you get to a certain stage, and we talked about this at the very start of the podcast with lifestyle creep coming through. People start earning more money, and then you start spending it on different things. You need different motivations, and that shiny ball syndrome is very prominent in Australian psyche. Well, for as long as I can remember.
Huge, yeah.
And it's like, well, we're trying to sit here and go, well, create your money, but then also to fast track your life into that abundance and that financial freedom is investing in assets that don't require the time either. So yeah, I guess that's that infinite loop, right?
Yeah. Should we discuss how the infinite loop actually works?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Before we continue today's pod, I want to ask you a few questions. What is your property investment goal? What type of properties do you want to own? How many? What size valuation property portfolio do you want to own? And how much net income do you want to be earning? Essentially, what's your magic number in passive income that you want to be earning? And do you know how to get there? And if you do you know how to get there in the least time possible with the least amount of risk?
Sam and I have been helping people invest in property and build property portfolios for years. People who are now replacing their income through property, and we want to help you do the same. Right now, for a limited time, we are offering free property coaching to our listeners. We won't be able to do this forever, of course, so head to propertypowers.au/coaching. That's propertypowers.au/coaching to see how we can help you achieve your investment property goals. Link will be in the description too. I think before we discuss the infinite loop, I want to touch on that point that you mentioned around lifestyle creep. This is the tricky one. To get to the point where you can run the infinite loop is you need to set yourself up for success and not let that lifestyle creep become too big. Because to do the infinite loop, you need to have two different types of assets, right? You need to have a business and you need to roll that into property, or you need to roll your property equity into a business. And I'll talk about how it works soon and how it just builds on each other and compounds. And you can just grow your wealth at larger scale. But where people will get stopped before they can even enter this infinite loop is that lifestyle creep and showing off, right? Like if I earned a lot of money, and I did, I spent a bunch of money through 2019 and 2020 and stuff, where I had made a bunch of money. I could have bought 2 properties, and I just spent money on this stuff I just didn't need to spend money on. And that's an ego game, and that's a showing off game, and that's what happens in our environment in the Western world is we come into a bit of money and we want to show that we're the shit, right? We're good, and we're better than other people maybe, or they just want to spend some money and yeah, I guess feeling good as well. But
you've had a conditioning from when you were born, or from marketing companies to say, once you earn money and you buy this, you will be
successful.
You'll be successful. You'll feel this good, and you do get that slight dopamine hit.
You do. You definitely do. But yeah, so that's one thing that will hold people back is allowing their lifestyle to expenses to creep up, and I call it entertainment expenses. So when we have spare money, normally people will, without putting that into wealth or having something to do with that money, we'll put it into entertainment expenses to keep ourselves occupied, and that could be buying cars, clothes, houses, toys, whatever it is, right?
What astounds me?
Hey.
What astounds me is the amount of cocaine usage.
Yeah, see, I'm so far removed from that, I don't know.
Man, in the obviously growing up, working in cities and down that corporate lifestyle, and even now you see people it's later in my stages, we just go out and have a few beers or a few drinks, and that was it. It was just alcohol. But now it's just the drug usage and this disposable income. It sort of blows my mind where these younger people are out there and they're using bags of cocaine. I mean, I probably shouldn't be talking about the podcast. But
how much is a bag of cocaine?
I don't know, man. I remember back in the day, it was $300, but now it's
So that's 15 grand a year if you do it once a week, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's just what are you actually trying to achieve? Do you really need to snort some kind of powder that's actually killing your insides too?
Well, this is a bigger issue, right?
Yeah.
It's a bigger issue on mental health. It's crazy, and this is I think having an ego could be having a mental health issue as well. And
If you need to snort powder to go and have a conversation and have a good time, just reflect on that.
yeah,
That's not sustainable long term.
yeah,
I'm not just talking about finance, but your health as well.
yeah.
Sorry,
I'm
digress.
glad you brought it up though, because it's like it's a subject that most people wouldn't talk about, and
No,
like it's
done
cool
go-
that we can just chat about on the
Right.
pod. Like it's
We've
great.
done it. Shit, I went to Colombia. It was a
Yeah.
hell of a time.
Well, I've done it once.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I've never done it in Australia. I've never done it anywhere, and I'd been in different countries, like traveling for most of my younger years, and like being like, nah, I don't, didn't do it. And then I went to Colombia. I was like, damn, I went to Colombia just after you and Camo went, and I was like, I'm in Colombia. I just got to give it a go. Like,
Yeah, it's like going.
I just wanted to know.
I don't know.
But I bought too much. I bought way too much, and I couldn't get through it. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's another good story. I'll just
Yeah.
touch on
Yeah,
that one.
yeah.
In Colombia, you can get a gram of cocaine delivered to your door, and it's more than a gram because I just cut off the brick for $10.
Yeah.
Australian. This was a few years ago.
Yeah, it's
And
probably
that,
like
and
7 years ago.
people here were paying, or now it's like, I don't know, call it $400 or whatever.
Yeah,
People are
yeah.
probably laughing at me. I've got no idea. But you just sit there and go, you're getting fleeced over here in Australia, and you don't need it either. It's it's just a perceived perception, like it's a cool thing. And obviously, I'm not a cool kid, so I don't get it. But I'll debate this every day of the week. So
Yeah.
if you want to leave some comments, let me know.
Yeah. So let's get off cocaine.
Yeah, good point.
All of us, like pun intended. And so let's get back to the infinite loop. How does it work? Is once you get to a certain phase in your wealth cycle, so you can invest in two different things. You can invest in multiple different things, but let's just call it business and let's just call it property, right? Business could be shares. It could be investing in businesses directly or buying some equity or whatever it is, or it could be owning a business. In my example, it's owning a business, and I went into owning a business first and built up. If you can get to that point in your business that you can sort of like start to remove yourself from it and then also take money out of it and build up a little bit of cash, then what you can do is you can go away and take that cash and purchase a property with finance, which is where finance supercharges your wealth growth when you're buying stable assets, and assets that are not as risky as, say, business, like property, right? It moves a lot slower, and it's a smaller ROI typically, depending on the asset. There's different nuances there. We won't get into that. But then you can take your cash, purchase a property using some of your own equity in your bank account, your cash, and get finance with it. And then what you can do is you can allow that property to grow by itself without you having to do any work, because the economy and the inflation allows that to grow, and you're purchasing an asset at a price where it's like the cheapest it'll probably possibly be with finance, and that will grow over time, right? And then as that grows, what you can do is you can then see that grow maybe over a year or 2 or 3 years, and it can build up some equity, right, as that price grows. Then you can take that equity out, right, and then you can buy a business with it. Or you could put that back into your business if you know what ROI you're getting from your marketing and it's accurate data, right? So you have 2 different ways you can do it. You can purchase another business or put it back into your business you already have, and that'll grow your business. And at the same time, you've got your property portfolio growing, or your property growing. And in that 2 to 3 years or whatever it is that property is growing, you got your business growing with more cash as well. So you can purchase another property, and then the more properties you purchase, the more equity you can buy that you can roll over into business. Now, let's just talk about the other way around as well. If you invest in property first, which may be the case for people listening, is you might scrape together 50 to 60 to 70 to 80K and you buy your first property. Like what I did is I bought that property for 80K, and it grew, it was a non-typical case.
80K cash.
80K cash.
Use leverage.
Use leverage. And non-typical result where it grew 95 grand in 9 months. But let's just say it was like you bought something and it grew by 30 grand a year or 40 grand a year. Let's just say 40 grand a year, and over 2 years you've got 80 grand. You can go away and purchase another asset, property, with the 80 grand, or you could roll that into a business, and that business would make you 20 to 30% ROI per year, right? yes, you can buy $80,000 businesses. They're out there. You can buy $50,000 businesses. This is what I teach people to do. And then that money that you can get from the business, you've got two buckets working. You've got property, it's growing, and then you've got a business, which is a bit more, depending on what size business you buy. If it's under the 500K range or under the 300K range, typically it's going to be a bit more of an active investment versus a passive investment. But then you can grow that, and then you can take that money from your your business, and put it back into property. And then you can have these two buckets growing where you'll earn income through your business, roll it over into a property deposit, and that property will grow and earn equity, and then you can roll that back over into business. And you can be that's what I like to call the infinite loop of wealth, which is what I've been working with the last sort of 3 years with my clients.
I also look at it as a de-risk strategy.
Yes, absolutely.
And then you've got two separate entities working for you. It's just
because business cycles don't move in the same cycles as property cycles.
Yeah, and and from the business side of things, the income that you get out of it is a lot greater, but time as well. It's the properties that I like to focus in on investment wise are more passive. There's always an element of work to do, and it's kind of like the energy you put in is hopefully the energy you expect to get out, right? So. It kind of goes back to what we were saying at the start of the podcast, though. That's not always the case. There's definitely more efficient ways. So if you buy the right property, it's more passive. If you buy the wrong property, it can cost you a lot of time and energy with tenant turnover, maintenance, absolutely. And that's the same as a business, right? So if you can try and get that balance, and what it's the ultimate goal, right, is just working towards that time that is going to give you to even just sit down on your couch or go for a walk on the beach and just reflect, all right, okay, this is where I am today.
Yeah.
Where do I want to be? And there was this classic quote, I don't know if you came up with it. Jaryd used to always say, if you're too busy working in your business, you're not working on your business.
Yeah.
And that's the same in like the infinite loop of both the property and the business side of it. Like whether business can be your employment as well. It's not just you have to own it.
Exactly.
As a PAYG, you're generating an income out of that. That is a business in its like sort of simplistic form. But if you're so busy doing that, then you're not actually giving yourself that time. And also as a business owner, like a lot of people do want their employees to be so run off their feet that by the end of the day, they don't have time to go, how can I get out of this?
Correct.
This hamster wheel.
That's society. That's what we are taught. I mean, we're getting to a bigger issue here, but I guess we shouldn't go down that rabbit hole. But
yeah, we'll do that another time.
Yeah, but that's exactly right. Like people that don't have time, they can't process and digest how things work, and they can't use the world or certain things to their advantage, and that's how we become trapped.
So in the infinite loop side of things with your journey, is there sort of a few steps to start?
Yeah. So on the business side, we've talked about how to get into your first property on the podcast. So may as well just talk about like what I've done on my side is first you need to get your business to a stage where you can get lending and you can get finance to start investing in property. And like Andy has said on the pod, it's typically 2 years of decent income, and it could be 1 year now with some lenders, depending on the asset you buy and all that sort of stuff. But to be conservative, you should have 2 good years. And I would say, like, if you've got 2 good years, you don't need to be a gazillionaire, right? Like, if you've got 2 good years of like 90, I think I didn't used to pay myself anything, so I just didn't want to pay personal tax. And then I was like, damn, I need to start paying myself like a 90 grand wage. And that's what I started doing, is I just started give myself a 90 grand wage. And that allowed me over 2 years to start getting finance to purchase. How do you get to that wage or that amount in your business? Hit me up, help you. No, I'm joking. I typically only work with like online businesses, but
Well, most businesses are online these days.
Yeah, most businesses are online, and I've helped people grow businesses outside of online. But yeah, that's another path. But it's really about if you want to build wealth and do it through the infinite loop, I think you need to have your sights set on how do I make as much money in my business as I possibly can, pay myself a wage enough to get finance, and that's the hardest part. As well as the mindset of like, okay, cool, I'm making some money and I'm paying less tax, therefore I'm making more money than most other people. Look at me, compare myself to other people, and now I can go afford these other things like entertainment expenses, like cocaine and cars and jet skis. Now, there's a caveat to that, right? Like, if a jet ski gives you like deep-seated fulfillment and you like want to turn, jet skiing into like a life purpose thing, then great. But if it's just, something that's a flash in the pan over your 100 years plus on Earth, then it's probably going to be an entertainment expense that may not give you the best ROI.
Yeah, because I got some mates that are keen fishermen. They love their boating. And,
we've got some mates.
But that's their happy place.
Well,
it's cool.
We've got mates that love fishing and have. So we shouldn't compare people, but we've got mates that like will go out and buy a fancy boat, and it's like they're so into it and they're into their fishing. And then we've got mates that like have like a boat that's like, we'll take them out for a fish, but they're not spending all of their money on it, and they actually do invest in property on the side. So they're getting the best of both worlds as well, instead of just,
Yeah, if Parker's listening to this one, the lady, mate.
Yeah.
That's a dream boat.
It's a classic boat. It's so funny that here we are. We're on a podcast, we're talking about property. We've all got property, and we're like behind like a $800 boat, like surfing and fishing and just like having the best time without having to be a big fancy yacht and whatnot.
Oh, we've had some good times going over Australia and then breaking down. And, Oh, it's been some fun times.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly all it is. It's like, it just makes it good with friends and,
But also those nice boats too.
Yeah.
That's a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, what else on the infinite loop should we talk about? Is there anything
I guess what I'm gathering is you start your business, whether you call that, you need to get that. The borrowing part of it is massive, right? Like the banks, we've all got to hand it to someone at the end of the day, but using other people's money is key to, I guess, the leverage side of things. And if you're like, the leveraging is important for growth. It's just know the risks involved. So you can get leverage with shares and stocks, and also businesses. You get business loans.
Absolutely.
You can get, and it's just like, well, that's fine. However, just be really smart on how you structure it, because if something were to change, and like say the Facebook ad thing, and you're solely reliant on that, if you're ever reliant on one stream of, like say, for income, if you just PAYG, it's like, well, you're relying on that person paying you that income. They can turn around tomorrow and say the business has failed, sorry, see you later. There's a risk in that. There's a risk in running your own business and just having Facebook ads being your main generator of leads. So you need to diversify. And this is going back to the infinite wealth, is once you've actually got to that stage where you're saving money. So regardless of where you're in life, you're saving money, then banks are interested in you, especially if you've got 1 to 2 years of cash saving history, then you can borrow money. It's just having that conversation with a savvy mortgage broker who, obviously we've had the podcast before, and we'll continue to have more conversations with them, and happy to introduce you to them. Just reach out to us, hello@propertypals.au, and we'll put you in contact with the right people. But they're the ones that are going to have those good conversations with these lenders, which are going to give you options, and then you can start to decide what your plan is, because a lot of people do sit in their head for a long time, analysis paralysis. They're researching 6-12 months. Then they've got this perfect idea because they've just done a small online calculator of what they can potentially borrow. And in reality, it's not accurate, and they've just wasted 6-12 months of looking for something that doesn't fit their buyer profile in a way, because I have these deep conversations with people, and they have these visions of where they want to be, and what constitutes a good investment, or what their dream home is, but that's not within their purchasing power, or even within a smart strategy to get them to that goal of where they want to be. So there's a lot of wastage of time, and think about it, if we've got 100 years in this world, and you've wasted one of them, that's 1% of your time.
Right? Absolutely. And this is where we should come back to the construct of time, where most people think that time is against you. And we need to build wealth, like really, really fast, or we need to get things done. We need to achieve a certain thing by a certain age in our life or whatever it is. When you start building wealth and you build it the smart way and the wise way, time is not against you. Time is with you. And the more time that, they've got, it's not about timing the market, it's more about time in the market. That's when you reverse it from going time is against me to time is on my side. And imagine having time on your side and being like, that's cool, I'll just buy this now and I'll just leave it, right? That's where like that money sitting in a bank account and them having analysis paralysis, or paralysis by analysis, and then they're not knowing what to do with it, and they might be saving for a dream home, and in that time frame that money's burning a hole in their pocket. They've got opportunity cost there, a massive opportunity cost, just because they don't know what to do when they get to that. If they want a $2 million home and they've got to have $200K in their bank account, why not, when you get to 100K, purchase something, put that into a property investment, and then you can allow that to grow at the same time as you're saving the rest of the money, and you're typically going to be far better off, and you're putting time on your side because you're getting into the market. And it's huge. It's a huge construct to change from I need to be rushing to do these sorts of things to slowing down and going like, I'm just going to like put my time, effort, and energy into these different places with my wealth, and it's going to work for me instead of me working for it.
Make your money work for you so you don't have to work for it. It's a good way to, wrap up the infinite loop.
Mm-hmm.
If you want more, obviously, information, Jaryd's a very wealthful of knowledge. Oh, God, you're a wealth of knowledge. That's what I'm trying to get at. Obviously, it's just making those smart decisions and it's like life's a game of chess, I like to say to people. You can make that one wrong move and it's not the end of the world, but it can cost you, that time. But that's why there's people that work in these areas to help sort of fast track that. So have a look into it. Re-listen to this podcast for the Infinite Wealth if you need to. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's trying to find the most efficient way to get to your end goal. And no one sits in there. There's some really good books too, like around the purpose of life. And there's a book called Tuesdays with Maury. Have a look at it. Cool. On his deathbed, there's also the top 5 regrets of the dying. Basically, this nurse went around.
I have heard of this book. It's
and
really
just
cool.
interviewed all these people, and no one sat back and said, "I wish I worked more."
Yeah.
So
actually, it was the opposite, right? They said they wish they had worked less. I think
work less, have more time with their family and their friends, and looking after their health.
Yeah.
That's one of the key reasons where we sit back and go, health, relationships, wealth is a really key sort of tripod of ideas that I'd like to help people focus in on, because contentment is key for everyone's life, and there's a lot of BS out there in the world. So have a look into it, and any questions, reach out, please. Or comments, leave them below, or send us an email once again, hello@powells.au.
Thanks, guys.